I have here a template from a long shallow curve from a project a student's recently made. We normally cut our curves freehand after marking them out, and for this long shallow curve a 3/4 to 1 inch wide blade would easily go around it. I've got a much narrower blade in there because I'll show you another setup after we've done this freehand curve how we can use a template and pin. I've used a standard sharp pencil, nice crisp line, and I've got on my bandsaw a light that I normally have on here, and this really helps me see this line. We've removed this light for the rest of filming just so it doesn't get in the way. If you are struggling to see the line, you could use a Chinagraph pencil, a white pencil, but difficult to get a crisp line I find with those, so I'd rather go with my standard 2H pencil and really get a nice line to work to. I'm going to cut freehand just on the waist side of that line. Using a narrow blade makes this cut a little bit more wavy, and particularly here where this is very hard, this is just a scrap bit of timber I've picked up, the narrow blade doesn't like going through the knot, and as soon as it hit it, whoa, it wanted to go away from that line. So a wider blade would be better. So we could do all of these cuts freehand after marking it up, or the other way of doing it is I've got my template, I've got on my template some double-sided sticky tape. If I stick this template on my bit of timber, I'll bring it away from that original line just a little bit. We're going to use a pointer and we're going to get my template onto that pointer and we're going to pass it around and use this as a reference point. This has a slot cut in it, and the slot is cut in it for the bandsaw blade to sit in the little slot. Depending on how far I push this out or back in will determine how much overhang or waste is bandsawn on the outside of my template. I've got to make a judgment on that, whether I'm going to be hand finishing it with a spoke shave or a compass plane, or I'm going to be putting that perhaps on my router table or my spindle moulder stroke shaper. Depending what technology and tools you've got in your workshop will depend how much timber you leave on there. I'll get this set up on the bandsaw and we'll cut it through, tracing around this shape. I've cut both sides off this template And as you can see, it is really accurate, absolutely the same size, just on that waist side of the line. And this second cut, when I retrimmed the one that I originally did with the bump where the knot is, because I knew knot was going to be there, and because I was going against this guide pin, or I was a bit more steady with it, and it's been very, very clean. Obviously, making the pin takes a little bit of time to do, but if you've got 10 or 20 of these, we want a really consistent amount to take off, which makes it much better for our next processes.